The people of Japan find a new way of life they have never known before. Toshiro Nakamura and his family are a good example. Mr. Nakamura is now manager of a research division for a large manufacturing company near Kyoto. He achieved this position largely through hard work and his knowledge of electronics. Before the war, Japan's rigid social structures might have prevented such an opportunity. Mr. Nakamura's son, Kiyoshi, is a sixth grader in the Kyoto public schools. Elementary school activities are much like those in the West, but Kiyoshi's studies are more varied and probably a little more demanding than those in the United States. Kiyoshi is now completing his fourth year of required art. It is Kiyoshi's mother who is most aware of the changes that have now taken place in present-day Japan. She keenly remembers her own childhood in the years just before her marriage. She enjoyed none of the freedom that Kiyoshi and his sister Kimiko now take for granted. But the Nakamura youngsters are typical of the new Japanese generation. Kimiko has just graduated from high school. The new jacket symbolizes change in teenage tastes. In the same way, it is a symbol for Mrs. Nakamura. She is willing to pay 13,000 yen for her daughter's modern jacket. But nevertheless, Kimiko's mother probably would be uncomfortable in anything but her own traditional kimono. In many ways, Japan today is as modern as any country in the West. But the heritage of Japan's ancient traditions is still apparent. In the Daimaru department store, the tradition of specialization in the humblest tasks may still be seen. 5 employees are needed to complete this single set. However, modern influences are apparent in distinctive packaging for which Japanese stores are famous. There are more contrasts between Kimiko and her mother than just outward appearance. Kimiko hopes to go on to the university to study medicine. When Mrs. Nakamura was 17, her only training was in the art of graceful homemaking to prepare for her carefully arranged marriage. Kimiko plans to stop at the university for her application papers today. Before the war, very few Japanese women attended universities. It was not considered ladylike. Kimiko, however, is typical of most young teenagers today. She has done well in high school and is serious in her desire to obtain a degree in medicine. Mrs. Nakamura supports her daughter's decision. But the university and its modern atmosphere are strange to the mother, and as such, cause her some concern for her daughter's future. While Kimiko picks up her university application forms, Mrs. Nakamura stops at a neighborhood market to buy food for the evening meal. Fish in many forms is still the basic meat dish for most Japanese families. However, beef and chicken have become increasingly popular. Traditionally, the Japanese buy food for only the immediate meal ahead, even breakfast. This leads most families to patronize small nearby markets, and these markets themselves usually buy only for one day's needs. Thus, even in the smallest markets, foods such as meat, fish, or vegetables are remarkably fresh. Kyoto, like many cities in Japan, is hilly. This sometimes results in a street ending in a flight of steps leading into the next one. The Nakamuras can reach their home by car the long way round, but on foot, the steps are easiest. The Japanese have seen vast changes in the past 2 decades. They now know in abundance that they never enjoyed before. Kitchen appliances such as refrigerators and automatic electric rice cookers are coming into wide use. They are able to afford a more nutritious and appetizing diet. Family habits have changed too, and some of the newer habits are a direct result of the new abundance. Television, for instance.
織田の演説班でございます。我々は織田を本当の男として選ぶことができると思います。京都も工業化の波に乗り、多くの農民が土地をなくし。
But there are some traditions that have not changed. Kimiko still cheerfully respects the custom that girls should have training in the arts of homemaking. And Kiyoshi exercises his traditional privileges as the male heir of the family. He is not expected to do household chores. Another tradition that is still observed is the dominant role every father plays in the pattern of family life. Nevertheless, these patterns are changing. It is most apparent in the increasing independence and informality of the young people. As a modern teenager, Kimiko appeals directly to her father for permission to enter the university. A generation ago, she might not have dared raise the question, perhaps not even to her mother. However, even though Kimiko considers herself modern, she will still gracefully defer to her father's decision. In wintertime, temperatures in Kyoto will sometimes go below freezing, but homes rarely have central heating. During this time, the Japanese family usually confines most of its activity to the kitchen and a family room with a kotatsu. The kotatsu is a low table with a heater underneath. Sometimes it is Kiyoshi's desk for his homework, or Mrs. Nakamura uses it for sewing, but it is basically the dining room table. Rice is still a basic part of every Japanese meal, including breakfast. The typical evening meal consists of meat or fish, a vegetable, some form of soup, tea, and a few mild pickles. These are served all at one time, not as courses. Ordinarily, there is little conversation. The noon meal is usually light so that by evening the whole family is hungry. Conversation will come later over a second, third, or even a fourth cup of tea. The day has come to an end. There is now an opportunity for quiet talk. Will Kimiko be admitted to the university? If she becomes a doctor, will she be able to marry and have a family? What about Kiyoshi? He will go to the university, of course. But in this new way of living, will he find a good wife? Families are important. The young ones are changing. The new ways are puzzling. But Kiyoshi and Kimiko, they'll do all right.